Hey guys, I am here to get into a character analysis of The Player, which is directed by Robert Altman, released in the year 1992. And Tim Robbins stars as the main character of this entire story. Just very ruthless and just is very much like an empty shell inside, is kind of how Robert Altman perceives all of this. And he's ultimately kind of like a walking satire of just all the studios just preferring anything, just an ambitious personality over the ones who have artistic influence. And that's kind of what this whole project really is. It's just kind of like he ultimately just you see Robbins just listening to the pitch of many screenwriters, and he ends up selecting a few out of thousands to make the cut. And the catalyst of this whole project is set in motion as he's threatened with a death letter from one of his rejects. And the story just ultimately kind of runs on the arc of just paranoia and nihilism. It's a very original kind of just, you could say, kind of like just a downfall of the spirited display, which doesn't make this ultimate just, it's kind of like a spoof. It just feels like a giant parody of just like almost just a very awkward, offbeat kind of fairy tale formula. And you see Robbins manipulating through his way through all these scenarios, and his arc just feels incredibly sarcastic all throughout. It's all-time favorite performance by Robbins. Then you have Greta Scacchi, who's very emotionally detached as this painter, who stands out kind of just for a sense of purity and expression. She seems very detached as she gets into a relationship with Robbins, and this all unfolds from just a totally warped, twisted kind of angle. And you have Fred Ward, who he stands out as he's often out to kind of just cover up scandals, and there's just so many hilarious moments where he's just geeking out about films. I really love the opening take, which is itself is an 8-minute long take, while he's analyzing how great the opening track and shots of Rope and Touch of Evil are, which turns out to be completely meta. And this is a very realistic kind of character in this whole story. You have Whoopi Goldberg. She's a great detective character who investigates Robbins. She often seems like she's very detached and amused by way of just questioning everything around her, and she doesn't seem like she's very easily intimidated by Robbins. She kind of feels like she brings this great comedic sort of weight to this whole project, and she's just in a deadpan. So she just seems incredible. Like the dry sense of humor is at full force when Goldberg's in the picture, and she just grounds the satire wonderfully. Then you have characters such as like Peter Gallagher, Brian James, and they're like studio rival executives for Robbins. And Cynthia Stevenson, she ultimately serves as this conscious of the entire project, and he's the most sympathetic character out of all of this. Every character just seems like they're very jaded by contrast, and it's a very similar effect that her performance gets across in the film Happiness, where you can tell in here she just really cares about the artistic merit with a complete extent of sincerity, and her position just runs strongly until she's ultimately threatened by hiring Gallagher. Then Vincent D'Onofrio, he's a screenwriter who just gets himself into a dangerous scenario of suspicion after a screening of The Bicycle Thieves. And again, like he's a huge part of what sets this whole project in motion. And Dean Stockwell, Richard E. Grant, they kind of end up conveying a lot of anxiety and nervous energy of writers, how to make themselves heard. And Sidney Pollack, I just really enjoy seeing his stuff, the acting in the 90s. He's more famous for being a director. He really gives great performances in both this and Eyes Wide Shut. And just all kinds of side characters here. I mean, the list is absolutely massive. I think it's one of the most massive casts I've ever seen in a film. I mean, it ranges from like Lyle Lovett, Dina Merrill, Angela Hull, Leah Ayres, Paul Hewitt, Richard Anderson, Cher, James Coburn, John Cusack, Peter Falk, Louise Fletcher, Terry Darr, Scott Glenn, Jeff Goldblum, Elliot Gould, Angelica Houston, Jack Lemmon, Andy McDowell, Malcolm McDowell, Nick Noble, Burt Reynolds, Julia Roberts, Annie Ross, Rod Steiger, Lily Tomlin, Bruce Willis, Patrick Swayze. Like that's one of the most insane casts I've ever seen. A lot of these are just them playing themselves, but nevertheless, it's insane. Altman went for it this far with this project. It's really insane.